Okay, I think I'm going to kick off with who we've got here. We've got Sophia, Nick, Tracy, and Paul. Welcome, welcome. Let me just share my screen. This one. There we go. Excellent. So I'll skip all the intro stuff and agenda, go straight to the good stuff. So we have a code of conduct. It basically means be nice to each other. You can have a look at it at elementor.com/community. And just have a read of that. Let's see, next one. I'm going to open the floor and let you people introduce yourselves quickly. I know there's at least a couple of new people here, and then we'll get on with the rest of the presentation. So let me stop my screen there. Hands up if you would like to introduce yourself. I'll break the ice. I'll go myself. If you haven't met me before, my name is Will. I'm also one of the organisers for Elementor Australia, but also organise the WordPress Sydney Meetup. Trying to put up the WooCommerce Sydney Meetup as well. I'm a developer and a consultant and educator. I mostly do back-end API type stuff with WordPress, but I take clients through the whole build process, design and production process as well. I've been using WordPress for 18 years, believe it or not. That's a long time. I got interviewed by a company called MyHost in Australia a few weeks ago, and he said, how long have you been using WordPress? And I was counting on my fingers, and I ran out of fingers, so that's sad. Okay, so aside, anyone else would like to just give a brief introduction about who you are and how you use WordPress and or Elementor? That'd be fantastic. So I'll open the floor for people.
I can go next. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Tracy.
Hello, I'm Tracy Harrison. Started a digital agency just over a year ago. We're using WordPress and Elementor. I'm drinking lemon, ginger, and honey. I'm in Brisbane, keeping myself warm. And I found you because I wanted to learn how to use the mega menu, and I watched you. It was really useful, so I thought, oh, I'd say hi and join you again.
Thank you so much. Good to have you here, Tracy. Anyone else like to introduce themselves? You don't have to.
Hi, I'm Paul from Melbourne. I run my own web agency. I have about 20 clients that I work with, mainly building in WordPress and Elementor. Tend to concentrate on sort of more bespoke, custom sort of stuff where I'm gluing things together with PHP code and writing all sorts of strange shortcodes and things that you just wouldn't find in anywhere else. So yeah, that's the sort of niche that I end up in. So, and I've been using WordPress about 10 years, so you're definitely ahead of me on there. Well, I think they just go past 20 years, so it was 2 years old when you started.
That's right, version 2. It'll be 21 years this year.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks for that, Paul. Nick or Sophia?
Yes, if the unmute button decides to unmute, or mute button decides to unmute. Yes, so I'm Sophia from Newcastle. This is my first meeting here. Usually my business partner, Kim Neal, he has attended 1 or 2 of your meetings in the past, but he's on a plane in Tokyo, on his way to Tokyo. So I thought I'd drop in. Well, Kim has basically created our whole website on WordPress without knowing anything about it when we first started, which was about 3 years ago. And so I just wanted to come along and see what else I can learn, especially around Elementor. We use Elementor every day, and the mega menu and everything else.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Sophia.
No problems.
Nick's still on mute, so that's fine. Let's just carry on. So let me just share the screen. Lovely. Okay, I usually do a little roundup of Elementor stuff and changes. So it's been a while since we talked with each other. It's been a whole quarter. So I'm not going to detail everything that's changed throughout different versions because there's been a lot. But here's the 3 ways that you can get information yourselves. So the Elementor free plugin, that's you can get all the changes in the plugin. So if you have a look at WordPress.org and the plugins in Elementor, there's a developers tab, and that will tell you all the change log, all the new things that have been tweaked and added and changed for the free version. Then if you're running the pro version, there's a change log on elementor.com/pro/changelog, and that tells you just specific Elementor Pro updates for those. If you're a developer, there's usually a developer's update. It usually comes on developer.elementor.com/ and Elementor dash and then the version dash developer update. You can also get that through the blog as well on Elementor. There should be a link to that somewhere. I like to have a look on the roadmap every so often. It's quite good just to keep an eye on what Elementor is thinking, what the developers are looking at. Here's a snapshot that I took earlier today. So there's things in planning, things in progress, beta version, and then the stuff that's rolled out. I kind of chopped it off because we know what's been rolled out anyway. But some of the interesting things is the motion effects and animation updates, enhanced WooCommerce Builder. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to put in there, but that's exciting. Any enhancement to WooCommerce is always pretty good. Advanced form builder features. I'm really looking forward to that. Forms is something that the Forms API is something that I use an awful lot with clients. So I'm looking forward to that. And CSS selectors. If you don't know what CSS selectors are, that's the ability to add a CSS to a component and then build out CSS in the back end. So for example, you might have a particular pattern that's saved. So it could be a container, it could be like a job description where you've got an image, a title, salary, stuff like that. So rather than going to Elementor and change all the different components within that using Elementor, you can apply a CSS to that container, and then in the back end, just write the CSS for that, and you apply it to all those different elements just by adding the CSS. So we're starting to see this CSS selectors in some of the newer builders. So for example, Bricks is using CSS selectors very, very heavily. So it's a way to be able to change a lot of elements really, really quickly just by going to the CSS and changing a few things, rather than having to go into Elementor and go into each individual element and change and tweak all that sort of stuff. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. In progress, Font Awesome 6, so they're migrating to that. Finally, we'll get an X, formerly Twitter logo. That seems to be like one of the most popular things in the Elementor Facebook group. People asking, where's the X logo? So that's that. So you can keep an eye on that. Always do. Have a look at that once a quarter. I've got it in my calendar, just so I kind of look at that for 5 minutes, see what's going on in Elementor. But here's what you've come here for today. Some new Elementor features since we spoke last time, so last quarter. These are the list. Image Optimizer, new UI, display conditions, Akismet Integration, AI enhancements, and something called a loop taxonomy query. So I'm just going to go through some of these and just describe a little bit about what they are so that you can then delve deeper yourselves and look into those. So the first one on the list is the Image Optimizer plugin. Now, this isn't part of Elementor or Elementor Pro. It's part of what they call the Elementor Suite, which is a fancy way of saying you have to pay extra for it. So it is a plugin, it's a paid plugin for that, and it's a way of managing your images. So if you are somebody who uploads images directly from your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy, which you shouldn't, by the way, these types of plugins can really help in scaling things. So what this does, it compresses images. So you can set a compression ratio. Maybe you want to compress to 75% JPEGs. You can set that, and by default, when you load up on the media library, then it will squash it down for you. You can scale down images. Again, this is convenient for people who want to upload huge images. Then you can automatically scale down to a particular resolution. So for example, if you do a lot of blogs with featured image, just say you're out and about doing stuff outside and you take a picture and you want to upload that as your featured image, you can scale those down to the size of your featured image on your blog or whatever size that your screen resolution is. So if you're taking images at 5,000 pixels and you've only got a 1280 blog, then you can set that to scale it down and it will do that for you. One of the better features is it converts stuff to WebP. So WordPress has supported WebP for a year and a bit now. If you don't know what WebP is, it's an alternative to JPEG and PNG and GIF for those. It usually has a 20 to 30% reduction in file size over JPEGs. Not always, but in most occasions, it has that percentage reduction. And as people use images an awful lot on the website, what I tend to find is that if you can compress images, make them smaller, you'll get a huge speed increase in your page loadings. So that's usually the number one thing. If somebody comes to me to say, you know, my SEO is rubbish or my page loads slow, it's let's convert everything to WebP first and get those done. So you haven't heard of that, it's probably a good idea just to have a look at that. Tracy's asking, do all browsers show WebP okay? Most of them do, most of the modern ones show them fine. There is a particular website, and it's just off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is, but if you search for browser compatibility WebP, there's a particular website that will show you all the compatibility for all the versions for those. It's a great little tool. I'll see if I'll find it and I'll put it in the Meetup group afterwards. Paul saying that use Short Pixel for this. Yes, this is, if you use Short Pixel, if you know what Short Pixel is, this is basically the same thing, the same idea. So it also removes EXIF. EXIF is the metadata. So when you take a photo, it hides the date, the time, the location, GPS, what you had for dinner, all that sort of stuff in the file, which adds the file size. So we want to remove that. So it does that one. The nice thing as well is it also has a bulk mode. So if you've already got stuff on your website and you want to convert them all to WebP, it can do that for you. If you have huge images, you know, you can compress them all. So you do it in bulk. Because it's a paid plugin and because of these bulk things, compressing things costs points, or is it points, something like that. So you have to get a monthly subscription to this. Credits, that's what I'm trying to say. So the free trial, the free one has 250 image credits, and then you pay up if you've got more and more images. So similar to Short Pixel, Paul, but I did actually use Short Pixel on a client's website 2-3 years ago. So we paid for something like 20,000 image credits for a month, compressed everything, just let it run in the background, and then we unsubscribed from that, just used the free one after that because they weren't uploading an awful lot of stuff. So you could use the same here. You might get the optimizer 20K, do all your compressions, let it run on all your images, and then once that's done, you might want to nip over to the free trial if you're only uploading a few images every so often.
Yeah, well, it actually looks very similar to Short Pixel, which is great. So yeah, I'd be very happy with this, but just the principle, just about every site I've been pulled into to look at the performance, the images have been massive and unnecessarily massive, and just optimizing the image has like improved the performance by maybe even 10 seconds on a page load. You know, it's just I cannot emphasize how important it is to have optimized images.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I had a shop client who had 24,000 images, and WooCommerce, the default image size, I think, is 800 by 800 or 600 by 600. And they were using iPhone images for that, taking a picture and upload. So they're 5,000 by 5,000 or something, you know. So WordPress is trying to compress everything. Paul said in the meeting chat that that's the web address, Tracy, that you can check all the different compatibilities for that. Nick asks, will changing file extension for a picture affect SEO or backlinks? No, it shouldn't do it. It might affect backlinks because people will be pointing to the image. So if you're getting SEO through image, you might want to consider leaving that if that's a good thing for you. But overall, it's not going to change the page SEO for that. Okay, next one is a new user interface for the top bar. So the top bar, it's a new feature. So to enable this, you need to be running Pro. I need to go into your settings and then features tab. And there's a little section called editor top bar. It's currently beta. It's disabled by default, but you want to check that, enable it, and then save. So this is the old or current user interface. So when you see Elementor, I've got the navigator snapped to my right-hand side. And then you get the little 9 box thing that you click on to get your elements and globals and stuff like that. And you got your hamburger drop-down menu to get site settings and other places. So this is the new one. This is the new editor top bar. So it has all the different commands along the top. And it is a lot. I've been using it for a few months now, and I really, really like it. The one thing I do like that stands out is the desktop, tablet, and mobile little icons. Just being able to switch to those really, really quickly, rather than having to go down in the right, left-hand side and click on all those things. So I think the next slide, there we go. So here's all the buttons that they are. So you'll see that the hamburger menu's disappeared. So that's now covered. A lot of the stuff that was in the hamburger menu in the top left is now covered in this little Elementor. So we'll look at the far left and we'll go from left to right. So things like theme builder, history or exit to WordPress is now the little Elementor logo. Again, I have a little plus icon, and that's your add element. That brings up all the elements that you can do a search for. Next one is your site settings, which is handy if you're jumping down initially to do all your fonts and typography and stuff where you need to tweak that. Then you've got your structure, your nav pane, which I always have on all the time. And notes if you're doing collaboration, or if you've got some design that you want to share with like a technical client, then you can leave little notes for the elements, and then you can have a little chat with them in the actual interface itself, which is quite handy. Your page templates, so that's a quick link to your pages and your templates that you've already designed. So if you want to publish this, if you don't want to go back to the WordPress interface to then go to pages and find something else, then you can just click on that and it'll show your templates, so you can jump quickly between Elementor templates, which is nice. Then page settings, of course, if you're designing straight from Elementor, you want to go into your WordPress page settings and update things like, canvas size and maybe SEO and things like that. Then, as I said, you've got your desktop, tablet, and mobile, which is super handy. If it wasn't anything else on that top bar, I'd just enable it just for those 3 icons. You've got your find or search, your help, your what's new, then you've got your preview, and then you've got your button for publish, draft, or save as template. So really, really handy. I've been loving this. I've been using it an awful lot over the last 2 or 3 months since it's came in. So really fan of that. It's in beta. It's very stable. Not likely to change very much. Probably getting close to releasing it into Pro as an actual feature very, very soon. Moving on, the next one is display conditions. We've had several conditions in for a little while in Elementor. What I do like about this new version is they've actually added support for custom fields and advanced custom fields. So I've got a little GIF here. So when you add conditions, now you can scroll down to the very, very bottom and you'll see something called dynamic tags. And then when you go into the condition part, there you can see I'm scrolling down, so there's a little GIF there. Right at the very bottom, you get to see all the WordPress custom fields and all your ACF custom fields. So now you've got super control over elements within your pages, even your posts, your products, as to what you can show and what you can't show, depending on what's in custom fields. I think the example that they give on the website is, or on the YouTube video for this, is that imagine having a salary, a careers page. So you've got all the jobs on your particular website. If you can have a custom field for salary for those. So, and you can have a query grid or query carousel showing all the different job postings. Now, when a job posting goes, you can either set a flag for, not available, unavailable, or you can set the salary to nothing. And then you can come in here and you say only show images within the loop carousel, the loop gallery that have, a salary that's, that's not empty, or have a switch that says available, not available, and you can say only show ones that are available. So you're getting really good control over display conditions. I can't believe it wasn't in there from the start. It's one of these things when they add it in, you're like, oh, how did I even live? How did I survive without that particular thing? I don't know if this is a change or a tweak, but now you've got and button, so you can have conditions with and. You just press the and button and it adds them and. Or if you create the new display condition group, that's an or. So you can have multiple ands and or conditions as well. I don't think that was in previous version. I think that's new, but certainly can kind of build up complex display conditions with your customers. So that's a good thing. I love that. Okay, moving on. Akismet integration. So this is for the forms. So the Elementor forms in Pro. If you are already using Akismet or you want to use Akismet to try and prevent spamming of your forms, then now you can integrate Akismet with Elementor. Now there's quite a process. I'm going to copy this link and put it down here. So that's the official page. These are just 3 images from it. It takes you all the way through purchasing Akismet, putting in the API key and activating Akismet. And then what happens when Elementor detects it, then within the form widget, you now get an Akismet spam protection toggle for that. And what you have to do is you have to go back up to the form fields, and you have to, there's a button in the form fields that says copy shortcode. You then need to find which fields you want Akismet to protect. That's usually the name of the email. And then you need to copy them down into that particular Akismet spam protection. You copy the short code of the form field name down into those. And once those are linked, then when you are, or when clients or visitors are completing the form, when they press send or submit, it will then run it through Akismet to check their servers and databases to see if that's a particularly spam email or not. So, it's never going to be perfect. It's up to Akismet to determine whether or not it's a spam email or not. But it's useful if you're already using Akismet, and you want an extra protection on the forms. I do have a plugin as well. I've not got a slide for this, but I've got a plugin. It's called something along the lines of Blacklist for Elementor forms, and that does something similar, but allows you to either add email addresses or complete domains, and that just blocks them out from sending. So if you don't want people who are using at Hotmail or at Yandex or any of these kind of free emails from spamming your forms, then I've got a blacklist for Elementor forms plugin that allows you to do that as well. And that just gives you greater actual control rather than Akismet's kind of not a black hole, but you're relying on it, understanding that's a spam message. Okay, next one is AI enhancements. Elementor, they keep updating the AI integration, and it will continue to update, when new models are released. There's talk about ChatGTP or OpenAPI are training version 5 just now. There's no release date, but they did release version 4.0, and that's a massive update just on ChatGTP version 4. So, Elementor is probably a couple of steps behind with the OpenAI model, but certainly, they've got a team that are increasing the enhancements to AI. So in the new versions, you've got better custom code and CSS generation. So it can understand a lot more. With CSS, you can do more complex things. You can get it to write JavaScript code as well. And multi-layer stuff. So when you're asking it to do something, it doesn't just generate CSS or generate JavaScript or code anymore. It kind of generates the whole item for you. So an example is they have a AI prompts library. So I'll copy the link and put that in the chat there. There's not a lot of prompts in there, and it will grow over time. But for example, one of the first ones that comes up on the page is falling confetti animation for full viewport canvas. So the idea behind this is if you buy something or if you submit something, then you can have confetti coming down. It's like a animated feedback thing that's just a little bit nicer on a website. So things like that If you have a look at that, it tells you the exact prompt to add into the AI, you know, and what it'll spit out the PHP code, if necessary. I think it's just JavaScript code and CSS that makes that happen. So you can just paste that into your functions library or your code snippet plugin, and that works like that. So that's a type of AI. So in the past, you'd have to do it in steps. You'd have to say, oh, I want this done, or I'll change the CSS or write JavaScript code for this. Now the AI version 0.4 generates all for you, basically. So a few examples there. Have a quick look, but the AI is getting better and better, you know, as it goes on. There's improved image variations as well, so it's getting better. So if you got like a product, this is particularly good for WooCommerce sites. If you got a product and maybe you only got one product and you want to have it more visual, then you can run this through image variants. And it'll take that image and it will create different variants, different backgrounds, different positions, things like that. It's a lot better than the initial AI release. It just keeps getting better, you know, with the versions. So that's something you might want to look at if your client's maybe got a shop or something that's visual with lots of elements. It can really help bring some visual clarity to that. And of course, the improved copy generation as well. So the example on the website is, you know, fresh flowers for sale. You highlight that and say, give me a better version of that. And here's what it says. It said bloomed where you're planted. So that the copy is a lot better than it was before. It gives you more in-depth. It allows you to set the tone, the character as well of the voice that's generating. So you can match that with your particular tone and voice, or your client's website's tone and voice as well. And that should give you a better matched copy for that particular website. And as always, the AI, it's a separate product. So similar to the plugin, it's something you have to buy. It's a monthly subscription. So it's a credit-based system, the same way as the image optimizer plugin is. So you have to buy packages. Here's the credits. That's how they work. So text code are just 1 credit. So you can play around with those, you know, a lot. However, when you start to do image variations or image creations, then that starts to be a little bit more costly. And you can actually use it on containers to say, in this container, I want a list of my products, a 3x3 grid with featured image, title, price on it, and a buy now button. And it'll do that. That's what we call a container prompt. It'll add all those elements in there. So that's 40 credits. Again, it can add up a lot. When I was initially featuring the AI, we did a meetup about it. When I was doing practice runs and building the meetup and the slides and stuff, I actually ran out of credits when we were demonstrating the AI online. I think it was 2,000 or 3,000 credits that you had on the initial free version, and I ran out of them online. So when you're playing around with images, especially variants, it does clock up those credits. So just be aware of that. Okay, it's the last one, could be the last one. There's a new element now, or a new part of elements. It's called a loop taxonomy query. So if you've been using loop grids or loop carousels, they've been limited in the past to posts, or if you've got WooCommerce installed, products, which means it's going to show all the posts and it's going to show all the products within that loop. And then you can kind of change it or base it on a particular, you know, I only want to show these things with this particular category, only want to show these posts with this particular tag. What the Elementor's released now is a taxonomy query. So when you go into your loop grid, when you go into your loop carousel, you're going to now see, as well as posts and products, you're going to see post taxonomy and product taxonomy if you've got WooCommerce installed. Here's what it kind of looks like. So here's a loop grid. So when you choose your template type, now you're going to see that post template. If you've got WooCommerce, you're going to see products and product taxonomy, not template. So that's what you choose. And then it changes the query part of the loop grid. And now you can choose between categories or tags within that particular post or product taxonomy. And then in the next one, you can show all the tags, or you can again filter it down just by one particular tag, or again with the category. And you've got the things that you'd probably see on your tag with cloud widget or your category widget if you've used WordPress for many years where you can hide empty ones. So if there's nothing associated with that category or tag, it doesn't show it. And you can filter by depth as well. So if you've got 5 category depths or 5 tag depths, then you can maybe show 1 or 2 rather than clutter up the whole thing. There is a good explainer video. Let's see if I can just copy this link up here. It's not Elementor's, it's done by somebody else, but it does really explain it in depth. It's got some good examples as to how you could use that. But here's the one that Elementor provides. So for example, if you've got a vacation website, a holiday website, you can then have categories for family, backpacking, skiing, romantic, all that sort of stuff. And those are your custom post types or your posts, and that's just a category within that. So rather than show all your posts and drilling it down, you can show those particular just categories within that loop grid. So it's really good. I think, so John sends his apologies, he can't be here, he's just had a newborn bub, so he's being dad at the moment. But a couple of meetups ago, he runs it's a holiday website, and he was doing the mega menu and showing how the variations work and the filtering works in all those. So for example, his website, that's all custom templates. He could achieve something similar now with this loop grid and loop carousel with this taxonomy filter in that. So really, really nice. I'm loving that. I've got a few clients who run shops, and that's really, really going to help kind of bring up kind of packages of products that we can put together and show in a different way to get people to get there really, really quick and fast. That's it. I'll throw it open to Q&A if you want to ask anything about those topics or just general Elementor. I'll try my best. We have moved to kind of a quarterly model, so we'll be back on September the 5th, unless there's demand for something else. I'm quite happy to waffle on camera. I'm quite happy to create Elementor stuff if there's demand, if people really, really want that. So yeah, that's that. I'll stop the share and go back to screens. There we go. So if anyone has any comments or questions, open up the floor. Happy to chat about that.
Thanks, Will. That's really useful. I know, Paul, I jumped in first. I have a quick question about when I bring my website up to date, and you update the plugins, the themes, something called translation, and I think it's related to Elementor. But for the life of me, every time I try and update it, it just says it's failed. You can't update.
Yeah, I've got the same. I mean, I've got 20 sites. They've all got Elementor. I've got one site, and it says it needs an English translation or an Australian translation or something. And why that one site? Why does it need this translation on just this one site when the other 19 are all fine? Yeah, so I'm with you, Tracy. I don't know.
So Tracy, yeah. does it not update, or
it said the translation's not found or something? So because I use Manage WP,
not available.
Yeah, I do manage WP. What if I've got the history of all the updates? It just basically said it's not available, or it doesn't exist, or it can't find it. But then it always shows that my website is not sort of up to date. It's not the end of the world. I just thought that if anyone else was having the same challenge, and if there was, a fix coming, or
not that I'm aware, but I can log that as a bug on. They've got a new Discord service, so Slack's being replaced by Discord, but we've got access to some of the developers, so I can raise that as a bug. What that usually is when you're packaging up a plugin, be it a private plugin, then you set up a repository, and the repository knows where all the files are. So it looks like their translation part probably isn't working for something. So when it's looking to download that file that looks in the repository, the file's not there. So that's probably what the message is coming back. So I can definitely raise that with the developers, and they can have a look at that and hopefully get that sorted.
I just jumped on the site that's giving me problems, And I've just posted the message into the chat, and it basically says there's an update available for the translation for Elementor Pro, and then it just says can't find it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've been doing that for at least a month, I'd say.
A month.
And
Okay.
I've just been ignoring it because it's like, yeah, whatever.
So you must have your website set for Australian language for that particular one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. But I've got other ones, and for just some reason, that one is a problem.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yep, I'll certainly pass it on. So thanks, Tracy. And
thank you for that. Seem to be, I don't know if you can still hear me, but
yep.
okay, cool.
Yeah, Tracy, I don't think it's a problem. It's just, it's not updating, and it thinks there's an update, but it's still working. So
yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd mention it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great, thanks.
Now, I was just going to say, Will, a trend I've noticed over all these updates you've been giving is there just seems to be constant updates to Elementor, and they just don't seem to be slowing down, even though, what are we up to now? Nearly 6 years, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great to see that they're still just ploughing ahead. You know, is that the sort of impression that you're getting, that they're just, you know, onwards and upwards?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of new builders that came out. One actually shut down recently. I can't remember what its name was, but there's Breakdance and there's Bricks. And Breakdance is a rewrite of Oxygen. I think if my facts are right, it's the same developer. But Bricks is a completely new one. And they've just looked at the current page builders, like, you know, Beaver Builder and Elementor, and they went right, and they've looked at the discussion forums, everyone's gripes, and they just rewrote a whole new one. So I think Elementor's playing a little bit of a catch up with those ones, because I think they're leading the field just now in being with tech and features, the things that people actually want. So I think Elementor's playing a little bit of a catch up to try and, you know, get the features in there. But they've been working with the Google, with Google developers, particularly with speed. So they've got there's another feature in the current version, I think it's an alpha feature that allows to even more optimizations for those. So it's getting better at understanding what's on the page, what you're using, and only loading assets that it needs for you know, to render those things. So the speed is getting a lot more better, I think. So I mean, they've got a whole team just looking at the speed aspect. I think I think I mentioned in a previous meetup that Elementor got a bit of a bad marketing because of the speed that it was. Someone said, "Oh, it's the death of Elementor," so the team really kind of took that on and ran with that. So that's why they're engaged with the Google speed team. Yeah, trying to keep those metrics up high.
Well, I can certainly confirm that they're optimizing it, because I spend a lot of time, you know, in the query, you know, inspecting elements, and just the sheer number of divs you have to go down when you're looking at widgets and stuff has dropped dramatically, and that sort of weight loads into your browser. The more sort of levels of elements in the DOM, the heavier it is and the slower the browser works. So they're definitely optimizing it down, which is great, because it makes your CSS a lot easier when you don't have to drill down 50 elements to get to the one that you're trying to get to.
Absolutely. The big change was going to containers that use Flex and CSS Grid. So because they've got all those controls built in the CSS at the browser level, you don't need all these divs to move things around and position them exactly where you need to be. It's container based. So that was a huge improvement there. So yeah, and they just keep optimizing all the different queries and widgets. So yeah, that's good. There's always a plus sign for speedier page builders, because that's the one thing I say to my clients Usually there's a speed trade-off when you go to a drag and drop page builder, because it's heavier, it's got other stuff to support. It's easier to build your page, but it's easier because they're having to put more divs and stuff, and more stuff in there to support the drag and drop interface. So it's nice to see that it's keeping ahead. Any other questions from anyone? Sophia, Tom, Nick? Oh, okay. I don't have a slide, but I want to give a shout out for WordCamp Sydney. If you've not heard, you don't know what it is. Before the pandemic, we were running WordCamp, which is a 2-day conference, a 2-day weekend conference event. And there was one in Brisbane, there was one in Sydney. We're almost going to a yearly model, but the pandemic shut all those down. So there's not been a WordCamp since 2019. But it's nice to say that we are running WordCamp Sydney again this year, November the 2nd to 3rd at University of Technology in Sydney. It's going to be the first one back in 5 years, so we're really, really excited. I'm going to put that on. It's a Saturday and Sunday, 2 full days of talks, 2 tracks. There's morning tea, afternoon tea, lunch. There's a Saturday evening social networking event as well, all for the measly sum of $70 bucks. So have that on your radar. I think we're going to release tickets soon, in the next week or so. And then we've got call for speakers out just now. That ends in July. We'll then decide what speakers and start issuing them out probably within August as well. So if you've never been to a WordCamp, come along. The conferences are very forgiving for new people. It's great, even for $70 just the networking alone. It's worth it to get to chat to other WordPress users and designers and business users, and there'll be something for everyone. We're going to make sure that there's presentations that covers beginners, advanced, enterprise, designers, copywriters, all that sort of stuff. So if you are in and around Sydney in November, it's well worthwhile putting that on your radar. Okay, everyone, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for joining. I was going to say us, but me today. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Tracy. Sophia, sorry, and Nick. Keep tracks of the Meetup group, and if there's any more meetups that we want to do, if Elementor really is something big, then we'll jump on and maybe do a one before September. But thank you all for your questions. Thanks for your attention. Take care, and see everyone soon. Bye.